Okay, hi, hello, welcome back. My name is Rin. Today I am discussing books that I want to read this summer. I'm really excited. I have kind of a lot of books here, but I do most of my reading in the summer for some reason. I tend to be able to double the amount of books I read in a month in the summer as compared to the winter. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just I'm outside more or I'm just feeling better, more in the mood to read. I like to knit, so maybe part of it is that I'm knitting less because it's the summer, so I'm not really knitting sweaters. I don't know, but I'm very, very excited. There's a lot of books that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. So I have them broken down by category. My first category is my pile of shame. These are books that are on everybody's summer reading recommendations, everybody's summer TBR for the past few years. People always recommend these books, and I haven't read them yet, and I'm frankly a little embarrassed that I haven't read them yet. It feels like I should have gotten them already, and so I'm just getting to them this year. They're like, I have to read these. The first one is Bonjour, Tristesse by Francoise Sagan. This is a French novella. I am so bad about reading books when everybody else is reading them. I haven't even read Intermezzo yet, and I feel like I missed the moment on that book. At least for this one, I feel like there's two waves of a lot of people who have already read this book and recommended it, but there's a second wave of people reading it recently because summer and I think a movie is coming out this summer. So I think a new wave of people. So I'm riding that second wave of people reading this book. Anyways, it's about this teenager. She has been living with her father, who is a widow, just the two of them for many years. Her father is a very relaxed parent. He doesn't really hold her to any strict boundaries. They are summering in a villa in the Mediterranean when all of a sudden her father states that he plans to remarry his deceased wife's good friend. And this friend is more strict, more mature, and she sets out to kind of impose limits and rules to their lives and to ruin the teenagers' fun summer. Everybody always talks about this book. It sounds very summery. I think it's very focused on young love, youth, and kind of the naivety of youth. That's that one. Next book is A Room with a View by Ian Forster. This is a classic. It's English. I think it was published in the 1800s, though I'm not sure. It's about a young woman and her aunt, I believe, are traveling to Italy. This woman is from a upper middle class background. She kind of has her life planned out of who she's going to marry and how she's going to live. And while she's traveling with her aunt, she meets a poor young man and his father, and she kind of has an awakening towards the possibilities of life and discovering what she actually wants to do with her life, and the desire to be free. It sounds like a very classic love story. A lot of people have recommended it because they love the relationship between the two young main characters and her kind of growth. Next category of books that I want to read are love stories. Not necessarily modern romance books, but more stories which center romantic love at the heart of it, which don't necessarily have happy endings. They could, but they don't necessarily. About that kind of relationship forming or settling, a lot of yearning, and just a lot of love. So the first book is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a Colombian novel. I have never read Marquez before. I know everybody, his big book is 100 Years of Solitude, but the plot of this one appeals to me a little bit more, and I've heard people struggle a bit with 100 Years of Solitude. So I decided to start with this one. It's about a young couple. They meet and fall desperately in love with one another until she suddenly rejects him and instead marries a wealthy, respected doctor. The man kind of pines for her for over 50 years until her husband dies, and he has the chance to go back to her to rekindle his love for her. I don't really know anything other than that. I don't hear too many people talking about this book. I know that Marquez is really known for his magical realism and that kind of weaving throughout the novel, so I wonder if that's going to be in this book as well and like how that would show up. But that is this one. The next love story is Summer by Edith Wharton. I have been having an Edith Wharton year. I discovered her earlier this year and I just fell in love with her, have read a couple of her books, want to read all of them. And how could you not read Summer and Summer? This one is another classic love story. I think it's about a young woman, though this time she's from a poorer background. She meets a young man who is from a little bit of a wealthier background and they fall in love over the summer. I think this one is maybe not erotic, but I think it's very sensual, and I think it pushed a lot of boundaries when it was first published in the early 1900s. So I'm kind of curious what that is, and I love Wharton's writing, so I'm sure it will be magical. The next one in this category is Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabhattin Ali. This is another book that like literally everybody is reading right now. I'm convinced, I'm influenced, and I really want to read it. It's a Turkish novel. I believe this one follows a doomed relationship. It's about a man who falls in love with an artist in the 1920s. I've heard this one is full of deep yearning and longing and just passion, and that it is tremendously sad. So, and then the last one in this category, this is the biggest category. The last one in this category is Behind the Painting by Siburapha. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Someone please correct me. But this is a Thai novel. It's about a young student who hosts a distinguished family friend. When the family friends and his new young wife come to stay, his wife and the student have an immediate connection and drawing to each other. It's about their love, and I think it's also a lot about her kind of role and the role of like young women stuck in these societal standards. Yeah, this book I believe has been like adapted many times. It's been reprinted a lot in Thailand, and so it's very popular there, and so I've never read anything from Thailand, and this one sounds really good. The next category is nonfiction. So first up, I have, of course, Joan Didion. You can't have a summer reading list without Joan Didion. That makes no sense. I picked up South and West for honestly no reason. My local bookstore just had it, and so I bought it, and so this is the one that I'm reading. But it kind of works out pretty well. It's like notes and journals that she kept while she was traveling in kind of southern United States, as well as the West, specifically California. I think there's even a part of the story that's about San Francisco, and I just moved to San Francisco. So, love Didion, excited to get to this one. And then the next book in nonfiction is The Years by Annie Ernaux. I love Annie Ernaux. Also want to read everything she's ever written. The Years is kind of a big one for her, I believe. So this is a French book. I don't really know what it's about. I think it's Ernaux's kind of classic writing where it's that auto-fiction where she kind of blends memories and moments in her life with fiction and reflects back on herself. It says that The Years is a narrative of the period 1941 to 2006, told through the lens of memory, impressions, past and present, cultural habits, language, photos, books, songs, radio, television, advertising, and news headlines. I feel like her writing is just very intimate and relatable, and so excited for this one. And this last category kind of defies a title, but I think of it as kind of the hotter, like the sticky summer books, the ones that feel a little uncomfortable, the ones that really make you think if you're really in it for a deep thinking summer. These are the books, if that makes sense at all. The first book is Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. This is an Italian novel. I have not read anything by Elena Ferrante, which is kind of blasphemous, honestly. I know people start with My Brilliant Friend, but I'm starting with The Days of Abandonment because this is about a woman whose husband leaves her, and she has kind of an emotional breakdown from that. I think she kind of loses her mind, questions her identity, and doesn't know what to do with herself. I have read quite a few books about women in very similar situations recently, so I might read this later in the summer to give myself some space, because I've heard that it is very intense and you can feel this main character very deeply. But I'm very excited to get to Ferrante. I need to read her. The next two books that I want to read, I actually need help because I don't know which one exactly to pick. I know what authors I want to read, but I need help picking which book. The first one is, I want to read a book by Rachel Cusk. I have only read Outline by her, which is the first book in a trilogy. It is honestly a really great summer read. It's kind of a basic summer read, but I would recommend it if you want a deep thinker kind of book. It's about a English teacher who travels to Greece to teach a class, and you don't really know anything about her, but you follow her interactions with the students in the class and the people that she meets along the way and friends that visit her. And they have these discussions about life, about marriage, about creativity, about writing. This book made me think a lot of things. I wrote so much. I annotated it really heavily, which I don't necessarily write a lot when I annotate. So it definitely made me think a lot. But I didn't love this book. I don't really know why. It just didn't hit deeply for me, I guess. So I'm not sure which cusk to pick up next. There's obviously the next book in this trilogy, which is Transit. I don't really know what it's about. There's a few other books outside of this trilogy that interest me. One is Second Places, which I think is focused a lot on artistry and women. There's also Arlington Park, which I believe is about women living in London. I've heard good things about both of those, but I'm just not sure which one to pick up next. So if you've read either of those or any cusk and think that there's one that I should pick up next, please let me know. And the last book is I want to read another lispector book. I read Near to the Wild Heart, which kind of blew my mind, kind of melted my brain. And I found I really loved the writing, but I struggled to have real thoughts about the book, which I think is par for the course for lispector. She's very out there, very transient, very ethereal. I do want to read another one, and I'm not sure which one to pick up. I'm debating between two. The first one is Agua Viva. A lot of people love this one. I don't know what it's about. Not that I think that any lispector is really about anything. I heard that it's kind of very fluid, a lot about passage of time and movement. And I mean, Agua Viva, the title feels like some kind of summary, so this one might be one to pick up. Or the other one is An Apprenticeship or the Book of Pleasures. This one has a bit more of a plot. This is about, a school teacher who meets a man. She struggles to connect with adults, so he kind of opens her up. I think it's also a very sensual novel. If you read either this or Agua Viva and would recommend one or the other, do let me know. But that is actually everything. Kind of a long list, but very excited to dive into. Let me know what's on your summer reading list. I'm very curious what everybody's reading. I always feel really behind the times with these seasonal recs. Like, I just haven't gotten to some of the classics, so hoping to catch up. But do let me know what you're planning on reading. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.